Gather around. It's time for the show to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, this is...
Hey everyone, my name is Jason.
Hi friends, it's Desiree Josen.
All right, there were so many matches this year that were just too much.
So this won't be a shocker because we've had a handful of really awesome matches that we just can't stop talking about.
How many times have these guys fought? Like it's been quite a bit.
I've been saying this all year. They're just so great to watch. We saw the heel turn coming, and then when it happened, nice and bloody, both dramatic and beautiful.
You are now entering the ring with Shoots and Ladders podcast. Here are your hosts, Desiree and Jason.
Shoots and Ladders, John Cena's greatest promos. What's going on, everyone? My name is Jason.
Hi friends, it's Desiree Josen.
I throw on the chain gang and cue up the hustle, loyalty, and respect because today we're counting down the absolute best promos for the Dr of Thuganomics himself, John Cena. From ruthless aggression to mic drop moments that left crowds speechless, Cena has been splitting fire for over 2 decades. These aren't just promos, they're career-defining moments, few changers, and some of the most quoted lines in WWE history. So, Des, before we dive into the countdown, what comes to mind when you think of John Cena on the mic?
He is so good on the mic. It's natural. He is a shit talker, and he is so good at it. And what I love is probably more than half of the promos or anything that he does on the mic is not scripted. It just comes to him naturally, and I think those are the best promos ever. And I know we're doing a top 5, but he's got more than 10 plus amazing promos in 25 years.
Yeah, 100%. This was not easy. We're just counting down the 5 that really stood out, but yeah, we probably could have had a top 25 or 30.
Yeah.
All right, so Daz, let's hear your number 5. What Cena promo lands on the spot?
So I'm a big fan of this heel turn just because I think his promos are so good. So a lot of them are going to be recent. And the one I picked for number 5 was, I believe it was SmackDown, his second promo after he turned heel, and that was in Glasgow. And, I did it based off of how the crowd reacted, and it was so loud, full of boos and reaction, and that's exactly what you want. But he was basically calling fans rats in cages, and, just saying you are exactly what I expected of you. I've been testing you. I've been observing you. And every time they would boo, he was like, you're just making this so easy, so simple, and just irritating everybody. And, he went on to, announce I'm going to ruin wrestling. I'm going to ruin, wrestling for a fan and for the wrestlers in the locker room. And he's been in an abusive relationship for 25 years. Woe is me kind of thing. And I'm like, ooh. The fact that you are just irritating everybody, you're doing a fantastic job. And I know creative was like, give us more, give us more. And then, of course, Cody comes out as the good guy saying, let's go. And then, he pouts and Cena runs out, typical little rat himself. So I went with that one.
Okay, listen, that was a phenomenal choice. I'm actually with you. The only thing that's really been fun about his heel turn is him on the mic, to be completely honest with you, because the matches really aren't cutting it, but yeah, him on the mic just making fun of everyone is pretty funny.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 5 is in 2006 against Triple H. He just said, you're just the boss's son-in-law. This was for the WrestleMania 22 build-up. What stood out is Cena flipped the power dynamic and took verbal aim at Triple H's corporate ties. It was definitely gutsy, and it signaled that Cena wasn't just the future, he was the guy at the time. And this really solidified, because he ended up winning that match, which shocked a lot of people, myself included, because Triple H was a son-in-law. So the fact that he basically telegraphed that before the match, I thought that was absolutely genius.
Oh, that was a good one.
All right. So we both had strong number 5s, and we're just getting warmed up. But who's coming in at number 4 for you?
I actually did his pipe bomb.
Okay.
Just because I thought I was not expecting it. And I just loved what it brought out of me, because in the very beginning, I was like, what's going on? And I was like, why does this feel so familiar? And then it hit me, and I was like, oh my God, I know exactly what you're doing. And the fact that he broke the fourth wall, just like Punk did, and it's been 14 years since he did his own pipe bomb. And he says hi to Claudio Castagnoli, Nick Nemeth, who was the other one? Matt Cardona. That I just was like, what? And it was just the little things of, you're not against TKO, you're Mr. TKO. And the fact that towards the end, the crowd was chanting Cena's name and applauding him, I was like, you know exactly what you're doing, and it's working. And I'm like, the fans are now chanting Cena instead of Cena sucks. And it was amazing to see that quick turnaround, and for fans to see a little wink at what he was doing with Punk. So I love seeing those little twists of something from the past. So yeah.
Absolutely loved it. Spoiler alert, that's on my list. All right, my number 4, and I think you're gonna like this one. It's Cena versus Randy Orton, the championship ascension ceremony. Back in 2013. So what stood out was Cena called out Orton for being handed every opportunity, declaring that he had earned everything. It was definitely tense, emotional. What was really cool is because you already knew that this is one of the greatest rivalries of all time at that time, both in their younger days of career. And the fact that he basically called him out at that moment, he was basically kind of telegraphing the future way back when. And I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. So I thought that really stood out and really fueled the flame on this epic rivalry.
Nice. That's a good one.
All right, Des, this brings us to number 3. What's the promo, and why does it rank so high for you?
Okay, I'm going to go with The Rock and Cena 2012 from Raw. And let me tell you this, it is two masters of the mic in one ring. It is chef's kiss. I tell you, you put them two together, it's pure magic. And this is when The Rock returned, and Cena was just like a really brave one to call him out, even when he wasn't there and when he was there. And what was it? The Rock called him like Kung Pao chicken or something. And then here comes Cena, walking out. And it was only 5 minutes with both of them in the ring, but it was basically Cena saying, I was a fan of The Rock like everybody else, but when I met Dwayne Johnson, I'm not into it. He's selfish. He's all about Hollywood. And all you see is The Rock pacing like a tiger. Like you could tell he was getting so irritated. And then the one part that I love, and I think everyone remembers, is when Cena goes to look at under his armband, and he was like, yeah, I don't need to write my promos on my wrist. And that was a well-known secret behind the curtain of that's what The Rock would do, is he would write notes of his promos because he'd forget them and put them on his arm. So basically, Cena was calling him out on that. And then he's like, yeah, and by the way, I'm going to beat your ass at Mania, and then just walks out. And the fact that he called out The Rock, and you could tell he got really pissed off when he brought up the promo writing on your wrist thing. People were saying that they had real heat in real life. I want to believe it, but I just loved that promo.
So, spoiler alert, again, that's on my list. Oh, man. Yeah, you picked a phenomenal one. That is for sure. Okay, my number 3 is Cena versus JBL. The champ is here.
Yes.
It came 2005 on SmackDown. What stood out with WrestleMania 21 on the horizon, Cena cut a fiery promo mocking JBL's corporate swagger and declared that he was about to take the title for the people. You may be a wrestling god, but I'm about to become a legend. The hunger was undeniable. What really stood out to me, this was more about John Cena than it really was about JBL. he knew he was about to run the company. That was the defining moment, and that was the perfect promo to cut right before it happened. This was the beginning of John Cena, in my humble opinion, as far as him being the guy, and I just thought it was absolutely phenomenal.
Awesome. Was that the one that they were both standing at the two podiums?
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
yeah.
that was so good.
All right. So the tension's building. Who takes the runner-up spot for you?
This one I love watching over and over just because it's so funny to watch. And it's Cena and Roman Reigns 2021. It's the SmackDown. It's like the week before SummerSlam. And it's when Cena returns like as a part-timer. He already was part of Hollywood. And it's they're obviously building up the match between Roman and Cena. And basically Roman's standing there with Paul, very cocky, and Cena's like, "Hey, I don't have anything to prove to anybody, but you've been doing this for 10 years. You've been holding this title for, X amount of times, but you're not doing anything. You're not very good, basically." And he goes, "And the reason why you still have this title is because you're protected. You were protected by the Shield. You're protected by the Bloodline, by Paul Heyman, all of these names, and you still haven't done anything like major." And I'm like, oh, this is really great. And it is true. And so Roman goes, "That's so predictable of you to come in here and be a smart ass. Show me something else." And Cena basically states, I'm probably going to lose to you because you do the predictable spear, Superman punch, you put on this show, but you're not good at storytelling. And we need to give the crowd a compelling story. And he goes, "Basically, Roman, I'm here to help you, to help put your name over because you haven't done anything." And Roman basically is like, "Hey, I'm going to be respectful. I'm not going to do low blows." But then he brings up his breakup with Nikki Bella and things like that. And then Cena brings up the Shield again and goes, "Well, hell, you ran out Dean Ambrose to AEW. Even Paul knows, whatever." And he's like, "Basically, I just need to pin you 1, 2, 3, and I win. And I don't quit." Basically saying what I loved, I'll get to it. But he was like, "Roman, I'm going to put you over. I'm going to tell the story. I'm going to win. But you're going to be a trivia question. You're going to be, who is the person that John Cena pinned to get number 17? And I love that because you could tell Roman's face just dropped, but Roman was enjoying it. He loved getting ripped apart by Cena. He had this big smile on his face, and it was just, oh, I loved it. It was just a total burn.
Well, great choice. You're right. Everything he said was actually true, which makes it funny. All right, my number 2. You already mentioned this, pipe bomb reversal. Okay, what stood out about this one was the pipe bomb was so epic. I did not expect him to reenact everything. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. We're ending John Cena's career. That was one of the defining moments of John Cena, even though he didn't have the mic. The fact that even though that was all CM Punk, it was brilliant. I've said this many, many times. Money in the Bank 2011 was one of the greatest PLEs of all time. Everything that set that up with that match, the pipe bomb, the original, the whole storyline was absolutely 5-star. Arc it back to the end of John Cena's career, the last time he's probably going to fight CM Punk. For them to do that again, I thought it was absolutely masterful.
So good.
All right, we've climbed to the peak of the mountain, Des. Hit us with your number 1 John Cena promo. What promo cemented his legacy in your eyes?
I think it was pretty obvious. It was his heel turn promo. It was the one right after Elimination Chamber. That's the one that I watched live. And I remember leaving Toronto saying, I cannot wait until Raw because this is going to be insane. And Let me tell you, it was a long ass promo. It was about 30 minutes, but half of it was because the crowd was so loud. I believe it was in Buffalo, and they were booing. It was so noisy, and I loved it, but he was so into it. He was so passionate, and I'm like, okay, that's probably why you're acting now. But it was just amazing. And basically, it was him saying, I'm again in an abusive relationship. I'm not a face. I'm not a heel. I am a human, and we're breaking up. I'm over it. This is all propaganda. I just loved it just because we are so used to seeing this good guy hero, and he wasn't. And he just looked like an asshole. And I'm like, this is exactly what we need. He is going to be a menace on the mic, which he has been. It's so great. He doesn't care. And you know what? This is the first time in 30 years that there has been such a big baby face in wrestling that has turned heel with that big fan impact. This hasn't been huge since Hulk Hogan turned heel. And we took that very well, didn't we? But this was a big pillar in wrestling history. And the fact that Cody came out as our good guy, as we know, and basically called him a whiny bitch and said, I don't want to wrestle you. I don't want to wrestle this whiny bitch. I want to wrestle the real John Cena. So it was like a mic drop right there.
Phenomenal choice. I loved it. 100%. Okay, my number one. You've already said it. 2012 against The Rock. Multiple levels and layers of why I like this. I've been very giddy to admit that I went to WrestleMania 28. Mm. It was the first time that I can remember where a main event was set up a year before. And that speaks volumes of what everyone thinks about both these guys. The Rock's promo of mocking him, calling him Fruity Pebbles the year before was one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Everything about that promo was great. John Cena came out, I think, the next week. Didn't even talk about The Rock because he couldn't, because he had to focus on The Miz. But then still addressed The Rock a year before, setting up the promo, calling him a fairy with a tooth. I didn't think that The Rock's promo could be topped. And I don't even know if John Cena's promo topped it per se. I just put them on the same level. But regardless, that was one of the best promo feuds I've ever heard in my entire life of watching wrestling. Mm-hmm. And you could argue that the promos were better than the actual match itself. Not that it necessarily was, but it set it up beautifully. I to this day, I mean, if you want to watch some great entertainment, I would just go watch those promos. It's unbelievably masterful, that's for sure.
I love that one. The Rock and Cena are just stellar together. If we could just keep them forever, just going at each other, I think we would just have just a comedy show. I love watching them two together.
Absolutely. And do you have any final thoughts about this episode?
We're getting on our last 6 months of Cena's run. So we're starting to get a little sentimental here. And he's given us some good content, great matches. But I think he's given us some really great laughs and some really awesome promos. So, yeah, this was a fun episode. This was a lot of fun.
Totally with you. Whether you're a lifelong fan of John Cena or just getting into his work, there's no denying the power of his promos to get fans fired up. I just think that, you know what we've said this many times. If you can't express yourself on the mic, there's only going to be a short-term status on your career. You hate to say it, and what really, really, really put John Cena over, whether he was Dr. of Thuganomics, which had us on the floor laughing, or just ascended into, the promos that we just counted down. And if you notice the promos that at least that were on my list, every single one of those guys are Hall of Famers and legends in their own right.
I was just about to say, you hit on it where if you can't do well on the mic, you're not going to really do well on anything else. Because if you look at it, all of the superstars that, yeah, you can be a fantastic athlete, but those that are just so good on the mic are just an elevated superstar in WWE. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that actually wraps up this episode. What are your best promos of John Cena? Give it to us and DM us at the Shoots and Ladders. Like always, please like, share, and subscribe, both on YouTube and Spotify. Once again, my name is Jason.
I'm Desiree Josen.
All right. Until next time, have a blessed day and a blessed week.
Have a good week. Bye, friends.
This has been Shoots and Ladders. Follow us for more content.